Welcome to Conquering Your Clownfish, a podcast dedicated to transforming disabilities into special abilities. I'm your host, Brady Murray. Welcome to Conquering Your Clownfish. Today, I'm excited to be able to share a very personal episode. As many of you know, I have an amazing family, a family of 11 children. 7 of our children are adopted. The first child that we chose to adopt is Cooper. Cooper's featured right here, and I'll share a little bit about that picture in just a moment. Cooper's story started when Coop was actually found abandoned on a street corner in a city of 14 million people in China when he was guesstimated to be 6 months old. We believe that Cooper was left and abandoned essentially because he has Down syndrome. Cooper went to an orphanage where he stayed for the first 4 years of his life, and that was when Andrea and I felt in our hearts to answer the call to be able to adopt Cooper and be able to invite him into our family. I remember clearly traveling to China. I was so excited to be able to meet Coop and be able to welcome him into our family. When we met Coop, he walked in and he had just this brightest smile and was so excited to be able to see his new parents. The orphanage had actually done a wonderful job in preparing Cooper to be able to be adopted and communicating with him that he was going to have a family now. I remember Coop was a little bit hesitant about me. He wasn't sure about this guy, but he sure liked his mom. He immediately went to his mom, sat on her lap, gave her a great big hug, and started to tell her all about his toys and the different things and the things that he was involved in. Coop truly was just a life of the party since the day that we met him. It wasn't until we got back to our hotel that I had a part of inspiration come to me on how I could get Coop to be able to fall in love with his dad, just like he has fallen in love with his mom. And the thought that came to my mind was I should go and buy a pizza. Everybody loves pizza. And thankfully, believe it or not, in China, pretty much on every street corner, at least in Tianjin where we were at, there was a pizza shop, a lot of Domino's and Pizza Huts. There I went down, I purchased a pizza, pepperoni pizza, came back to the hotel and walked into the room. As soon as I walked in, the smell of pizza filled the entire room and Coop's eyes immediately went towards me. And before, he was a little bit hesitant to be around Dad. But all of a sudden, with Dad having pizza, he wanted some of that. So I arranged to put the pizza on the table where Coop would have to come to me and be able to ask for a piece of pizza, and then I'd be able to give him one. Sure enough, he came right up to me. He indicated he wanted a piece of pizza, and I put my arms out to say, let me help you up. I'll sit on my lap, and you can have some pizza. And up to that point, he didn't want anything to do with me, and at that point, he was all good with this. And so he jumped up, got himself a piece of pizza. And honestly, since that moment, he and I have been super, super tight. Love Cooper. We got Cooper home. He was able to meet his new siblings, and especially he was able to meet his brother, Nash, his big brother, Nash. In the Salt Lake City airport before, in fact, the old airport, when you would come in through the doors and leave security or leave the terminal, there was a big escalator that you would be at the top of, and you would go down that escalator down into the baggage claim, where you would be able to get your baggage. Well, also, that's a place where families would gather to be able to meet individuals that are coming home and meet them in the airport. So when we got to the top of the escalator, I looked out and I saw all of our family there, aunts, uncles, grandpas, grandmas, of course, siblings and friends were there to be able to meet Cooper and to greet our Andrea and I from coming back from China. As we got to the top of the escalator I noticed that they had all of the family roped off. And so they kind of had them blocked away from getting in front of the escalator, and they were back a ways. Well, as soon as we got to the top, Nash, Cooper's brother, pushed the rope aside, came running up to the bottom of the escalator and has his arms up and started to say, "My Cooper, my Cooper." And so he hadn't seen Mom or Dad for a couple of weeks, but he didn't care. He wanted to see his Cooper. And that's actually a picture that we have. It's just an iconic picture of Nash at the bottom with his arms up waiting for Coop to come down. And I had Coop in my arms. Well, since that moment, these two have been just like absolute two peas in a pod. They share a room. They are inseparable. They absolutely love each other, and they take care of one another. So as you know, a purpose of our podcast is to be able to help families that have a loved one that has a disability to be able to see and feel inspired to be able to expand their horizons on what their children are capable of. Oftentimes, we as caregivers are the roadblock, are the bottleneck to our children being able to sing the song that they're meant to sing. Just like Marlin from Finding Nemo, this is us. We are trying to conquer our clownfish and be able to help our children to sing the song that they're meant to sing. So I've taken this to full on. Like, this is something I truly, truly believe in, and I try and embrace and help our children to be able to get way outside their comfort zones. Well, honestly, this got a little crazy with an experience that we had not too long ago. Looking back on this experience, I'm so thankful nothing happened. I'm incredibly humbled and extremely grateful that Cooper was okay in this experience. But this is an experience where Coop definitely was expanding his horizons on what his capabilities were, despite his mom and dad probably not wanting him to do this. So this is how this story started. It was a couple of weeks ago. I was in the bathroom getting ready to go to work. It was about 7:30, maybe almost 7:40 at this time. And Andrea comes in and she has just kind of this terrified look on her face. And she was coming in to get her shoes and was kind of like a lady on a mission, right? And she comes in and I'm like, "What's up?" And she said, "You wouldn't believe it. We just got a phone call from the police department and they said they have Cooper." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" They said somebody called in 911. They saw a little Asian boy that looked like he has Down syndrome riding an electric scooter down the Alpine Highway. So it's a very busy part of town, a highway. And they said that he was in a construction zone and he was weaving in and out of like cones and just kind of joyriding is, I think, the word that they used. And they called in. And they said, "Somebody please come help this child." Well, sure enough, it was Cooper. Well, Coop was already miles from our house when the police finally found him. He was on a different road, County Boulevard, which is an even busier 4-lane highway. And he was just joyriding, having a great time. What he had done is he actually took his brother's scooter, his brother's electric scooter, his older brother's electric scooter, which he knows he's not supposed to be on and supposed to be riding, and he left. And so Andrea took off, went to get Coop, and I thought, I got to check the Ring camera. And I looked on the Ring camera to see when Cooper had left. And sure enough, at 6:47, so almost an hour earlier, Coop, before anybody was even up and stirring and just kind of did his thing, he went out down the stairs, right out the back door, got his coat on, his jacket on, went and got the electric scooter, went out and looked up at the Ring camera just to check, because he knew he wasn't supposed to be doing this. Looked left, looked right, saw that nobody was watching, and he got on that scooter and he took off and went for a joyride. Andrea got there. She was able to meet up with Cooper. There were 4 policemen that were there, 2 police cars. The policemen, the first thing they said when they saw Coop was, "This kid is awesome." And so thankfully, the policemen were very, very professional, very cool with Coop, and he had made great friends with them, just as he does with everybody. And we were able to get Coop home. And so that's a scenario where, no doubt, we have expanded Coop's horizons over the years and really pushing him and helping him to be able to have confidence and to be able to get outside of his own comfort zone and do things that are maybe not typical for children with Down syndrome. And in this case, this was a scenario where I wish that he didn't take it that far, but I am super thankful that he has the confidence to be able to go and push and do fun things of this nature. We just got to make sure to hide the car keys and the electric scooters now going forward. Well, I want to share with you another experience that we had with Coop. And in fact, it's a lot about this particular picture here, some of these pictures that I'm sharing. When we got Coop here, so Coop was 4, and I'm a big baseball fan. Coop has 2 older brothers and a younger brother that all love baseball. I coach all these kids' teams, and anytime we get a chance, we're in the backyard playing baseball. Well, Coop immediately gravitated towards wanting to play baseball. He loves baseball. And in fact, when he was 5, he picked up a bat and he started swinging, and he very naturally had a very natural swing. In fact, he batted left-handed. He was swinging it left from the left side of the plate, even though he threw right-handed, which I thought was super cool. Well, he'd play with us in the backyard, pick up ball games, and he was, fine. He did great. but never did he been playing on a typical team. So the boys were playing in the Little League program that was in our community at that time, and Coop was not playing on that particular team. We would take Coop to the games, and Coop would want to play. Like, he expressed interest in wanting to play. And so finally, Andrea and I, when he was, I think, 5, almost 6 years old, we thought, you know what? Like, I wonder if Coop could play. I wonder if he could do this. And, immediately I'm in clownfish mode. Okay. And I'm thinking of all the reasons why it's probably not a good idea for Cooper, our little guy with Down syndrome, that he would be playing a game of baseball with a real life baseball, hard baseball, and having kids that were typical kids that honestly were more capable than he was, throwing fastballs and Cooper trying to hit those, or him, trying to field the ball. I just thought of all the reasons why that probably wasn't a good idea for Coop, trying to protect Coop. But I could just tell he wanted to do it. And I caught myself and just saying, look, like, I'm probably the one that's holding Coop back from being able to play baseball. And in this case, sing the song he meant to sing through baseball. So after Andrea and I talked about it a little bit, we said, let's go for it. Let's do it. And so we started Coop at the T-ball level. We thought that was innocent enough. He's like the oldest kid playing T-ball. And he just excelled. Like, in fact, he was too good for that league. So we quickly moved him up to machine pitch, where a machine was pitching the actual hard balls and the kids were throwing the balls trying to get people out. And Coop did amazing. He did so well. And in fact, he played on Mason's team, just his younger brother's team. And the two of them had so much fun. I got to coach a couple of those seasons, and it was just amazing to see Coop excel. The thing that I found and that I loved what I saw as Cooper was playing baseball is normally these are fairly competitive leagues. And you have rivals, or the other team, you're good sports, but you're trying to win. And you're definitely not cheering for the other team. Well, what I found with Cooper is that the other team would actually start cheering for Cooper. The players would start cheering for Coop. The fans of the other team would start cheering for Coop when he would get up or when he would make a play. And it was like this bonding moment. It was just this experience that brought us all together and made this game that we were playing and trying to win a game so much more than just a game, and so much more than just trying to win, if you may. It became much more than just a game with Cooper out there playing. Quickly, Cooper became very popular, or even a little famous within the league, to where the other coaches knew Coop and loved Coop, and the other players all loved and knew Coop. And it was actually through baseball that we had a very, very special opportunity that came about. And so, as many of you know, my wife and I founded the nonprofit Rod's Heroes, which inspires families to answer the call to adopt a child with Down syndrome or other unique circumstances. And we're very active on social media. It was through this social media interaction that we actually had a pitcher and his wife for the Chicago Cubs reach out to Rod's Heroes and say, we love the work that you guys are doing. We love Coop and the great things that Coop is doing. We want to invite you guys to come down and be able to go to a game, Arizona, during spring training when the Cubs are there. And if you want, you can invite other families and we'll make a big deal out of it. So we just jumped all over. We thought this is going to be so awesome. The player, his name is Justin Still. He's the Chicago Cubs ace. Libby is his wife. Amazing, unstoppable advocates, such wonderful people, and have the cutest kid, little Bo. And so we made arrangements. This was in 2023, spring of 2023, went to Arizona. We were able to get in contact with all the families that we knew that we had helped with adoption or that just simply had a connection to special needs, and invited them to come out to a spring training game. It was only a week or so before this game was going to happen. The thought came in our mind of saying, I wonder if Coop could throw out the first pitch at this game. And so we pitched the idea to Justin, and he said, absolutely, that's a great idea. If Coop wants to do that, absolutely, we should do that. And so arrangements were made for Coop to throw out a first pitch at a major league spring training game. Now, when the arrangements were finally actually made, I started to, I don't know if second guess is the right word, but yeah, kind of second guess, like, is this right? Like, should I really do this? Like, could Coop actually throw out the first pitch at a major league game? Like, this isn't the Sandlot down the street. This is a major league baseball game. And so I started to have hesitations and doubts in my own mind on would my son really be able to do this? And sure enough, I caught myself again, like, stop being a clownfish. Like, you've got to get past this. Of course he can do this. And even if he can't, or he tries and he fails, that's better than never giving him the opportunity to try in the first place. And so we went for it. We got there. Coop was getting warmed up. I was nervous wreck, absolute nervous wreck. And finally the time came where the announcer said, Cooper Murray with Rod's Heroes will be throwing out the first pitch. And Coop just ate it up. He goes running out on the mound. It's just waving and just like absolutely playing into the crowd. The crowd loved it. And I actually had to go out there and be like, all right, bud, like, we got to throw a first pitch down. There's actually a game that's going to be played as well, not just Cooper throwing the first pitch. So we got him all positioned, and Coop was just smiling all ears. And they had the Cubs mascot. His name's Clark. The Cubby was behind the plate. They had this great big catcher's mitt that Coop was going to throw to. Then Coop all of a sudden got super serious when he knew it was time to pitch. And he goes and he has his hat on backwards and he looks in, he's got his glove up and his hand up, or he leans in, he looks in, gets a sign from Clark, fastball, okay, perfect. He comes sets, high leg kick, throws a perfect strike, and then just celebrates like the kid just won the World Series. And we're all watching this like, you can't make this stuff up. This is so fun. And the crowd goes wild, and Justin was there and he's just loving it. And it's such a special experience. And I thought, what a truly wonderful once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Coop and our family and all of the Rod's Heroes team and family to just enjoy what a wonderful experience that was. Well, the Cubs saw that. The Cubs organization saw that, and they liked what they saw. In fact, they invited Coop to come out to Wrigley Field and throw out the first pitch a few months later. In fact, about a month later, during the Memorial Day game at Wrigley Field, where the Chicago Cubs played the Tampa Bay Rays. And so this was big time. This was amazing. In fact, it was very emotional for me, being such a big Braves fan, or a baseball fan, and to be able to look back and to just think all of those emotions that I had on the diagnosis, NASH. And I remember, so Nash being my other child that has Down syndrome, and my biological son, after he was born, I found out he had Down syndrome. I just felt like all of those dreams that I had for my son to be able to play baseball, or to, aspirations on what if he could play Major League Baseball. All of those things came full circle as Nash's little brother now was on the mound of a Major League Baseball team throwing out the first pitch, and not despite of or in spite of his Down syndrome, but because of that special ability that he has to be able to bring light and joy to an audience, to the fans. And so we went to Chicago. I remember it was just 5 or 10 minutes before the first pitch was going to happen. And again, once again, I'm a nervous wreck. It's a sold out crowd because it's Memorial Day. It's a day game. Just everybody's out enjoying it. Beautiful day at Wrigley. And I looked to Coop and I'm like, Bud, are you nervous? And he looks at me like, no, what is there to be nervous about? This is great. It's just like, no. And so I just reminded him what a special, special boy he is. But same thing. It's like an instant replay of what happened at spring training. Coop goes out, wows the crowd with just his charm and his beautiful smile, and then gets super serious, throws a perfect strike, and then celebrates like he wins the World Series. And I thought, what a storybook ending. What an absolutely special thing that is so unique to look back, that I had reservations and actually almost didn't let Coop play baseball years before. And what a tragedy it would have been if I would have tried to protect Coop and try to make it so he didn't get disappointed, or that he wasn't a burden on the team or the other players, or just a burden in any way. Try to make it so he wouldn't get hurt or wouldn't be disappointed, and chose not to allow him and encourage him to play baseball. What a travesty and tragedy that would have been if I didn't pursue that, because here we are a number of years later, and Coop just throws out the first pitch at a major league game and brings the joy and light of the special needs community, the disability community, to Wrigley Field that day. Well, I thought that was the deal. Like, great job, Coop, you did it. Well, lightning actually struck twice. A short time later, about a week later, we got a call from the Boston Red Sox inviting Cooper to come to Fenway and throw out the first pitch at Fenway. I thought, how is this even possible? Coop arguably is going to throw out the first pitch at the two most storied and amazing venues in Major League Baseball, in the history of baseball, Wrigley Field and Fenway, in a matter of 2 weeks. We went out to Boston, same thing. That's the picture right here of Coop on the field at Fenway after he had just thrown a pitch. And something that I love about this picture as well is you can see, proud dad in the background holding his cell phone up and his arm cheering his son on. And isn't that really what it's all about, guys, as far as our kids, and in particular our kids that have these special needs, these special abilities, these disabilities? Isn't it a special way to be able to help them to truly sing the song that they're meant to sing? So after the Fenway pitch, we thought really we're onto something. The reception of the crowd, the news media picked up on it, just started to take on a life of its own. We thought, you know what? This is a tremendous opportunity, no doubt, to be able to give Coop an opportunity to throw out the first pitch, but it's so much bigger than this. And that's when we started the campaign, 30 pitches for 30 adoptions. And so Rod's Heroes, being the organization that inspires families to answer the call to adopt, is embarking and partnering with Coop to be able to have Coop throw out the first pitch in all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums, with the purpose of helping 30 children to be able to be adopted that have Down syndrome or other special needs as well. And so in addition to that, this campaign is an opportunity to allow somebody with Down syndrome, with a disability, to be able to showcase and be a representative for our community in being able to share the light that exists within our community, and even more so, the capabilities and the inspiration that comes when society as a whole gives individuals with a disability the opportunity to let their light shine. We finished off the year last year by pitching in Atlanta at Truist. Atlanta is my childhood favorite team, having grown up a huge Atlanta Braves fan. That was a very, very special experience for me, as well as our entire family, but in particular for me. And the reason why is the person who caught Cooper's first pitch was my childhood hero, Dale Murphy. And so since I was a wee lad of 4 years old, I fell in love with Dale Murphy back in the early 80s. And this was in Dale's heyday. He was the NL MVP a couple of different times, and just loved Dale Murphy. So here we are 20, 30, 40. Wow, 40 years later from the time that I just really fell in love with Dale Murphy. I'm seeing my son pitch to Dale Murphy in that first pitch at Atlanta. We finished off the year going to New York City, where Coop threw out the first pitch at Citi Field for the New York Mets game. And then the next morning, I had the opportunity to go downtown in downtown Manhattan and throw out a first pitch on live TV on Fox and Friends. In all cases, he does the same thing. He's just made for this. He just totally plays into the crowd and just is really a great showman. He does such a good job in representing our disability community. And so that's where Coop's at today. We got to try and keep him off the electric scooters, or at least if he's on the electric scooter, because he's actually a really good rider on the electric scooter, we got to keep him within the guidelines of our immediate neighborhood or home at the city park, preferably, but we'll continue to do that. I appreciate you guys listening in. You can actually follow Cooper's journey by going to coopermurray.org. We have 4 more first pitches lined up for 2024. We'll be pitching in San Diego at Padres Stadium. We'll be pitching at Dodger Stadium. We'll be pitching for the D-backs, and Coop will finish off the year in Washington, D.C. at the Nationals. So that'll give us 8. We hope to be able to finish off the next 22 or the next 2 seasons in 2025 and 2026. Something else that I'd like to share that's a super fun thing that Andrea and I have been working on is actually a children's book titled Cooper is Super, and So Are You. And it's a children's book that will be coming out in spring of 2025, just in time for baseball season. And so we'll share more details about that. But appreciate you tuning in. Excited to be able to share this journey, and appreciate your support on the Conquering Your Clownfish podcast. if you feel so inclined and you feel like this is a message that should be heard, I'd encourage you and invite you to give us a 5-star rating. We'd love to have comments as well in being able to help portray and to push this message forward of our amazing caregivers, our disability community, conquering our clownfish and allowing our children to be able to sing the song that they're meant to sing. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Conquering Your Clownfish. If you liked what we discussed on the podcast today and want to continue the conversation, please visit us at conqueringyourclownfish.com. And please don't forget to subscribe.